Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 25th Annual Power of Pink Luncheon. At this time, we kindly ask that you take your seat as we begin our program with a special video presentation. Welcome to Power of Pink.
I still wear big hair because I think it means you're next to God, closer to God when you have big hair.
So the next time you're interrogating a terrorist, forget waterboarding, give him around the chemo.
Tony. Each one of us 20 pounds lighter. 30 or 40.
I was my biggest.
Gosh, we had so much more hair. It is. It is.
We just all looked so good back then, didn't we?
I go home and you know, we didn't realize it.
That's
What I got when I looked at all these pictures, I thought, my goodness, I wish I'd appreciated looking that good. Being that I don't ever remember. At the time, I didn't realize it.
No, I didn't either. I first met Jan when my parents moved to Lufkin in the summer of, I believe it was 1958.
We first met probably through our husbands because they were both in the round table, and did that, and it was just immediate friendship with her.
In the 1960s, middle 60s, I moved to Lufkin, and Jan was one of the first ladies that I met. The second year, we were both expecting. I was expecting my first baby, and she was expecting her second one. And we ended up having them a week apart, and they have become, and still are, best friends.
Jan was one of my dearest friends, and I just loved her just like a sister.
Jan was a very, very true friend.
We moved, and she was my neighbor, and we walked together every morning, and we just became such close friends. Jan was just an easy, wonderful person to know.
She called us one day and asked us to come over to her house.
She said, "I've got something I need to tell you." Well, of course, that scares you to death, no matter who or where. And she told me that she had breast cancer.
Of course, we were all devastated with her, and tried to do as much as we could to help her and to always be there, to take her to the doctor, to take her to treatment, just be her best friend.
And we were all very concerned, but knowing Jan, we knew that she would fight the good fight, which she certainly did, and have the good attitude about it. But everybody rallied around her because she really had lots of support, lots of friends.
She was so young when she passed away.
I helped Raymond write the obituary, which was bittersweet in a way, because she had really meant so much to so many people, and so we all just kind of rallied around her kiddos, and Raymond particularly too, because he was really wrapped up in her.
It's just one of those things you just never get over, and you can remember, you can just almost remember where you were when you heard it. And I was home, got a phone call from a good friend that said they had just found her, that she had not made it. We knew she wasn't going to make it, but there's still, you can't compare it to when you hear that there's always that hope. And it was just real sad.
Anybody that ever knew Jan would still be crying.
We wanted to do something to remember her by that was a positive thing. And that's when we came up with the idea of having a luncheon for an hour at the hospital with box lunches on our laps.
We were so proud of ourselves. We really were that we had done this. And then the next year it grew, and the next year it grew, and the next year it grew.
After a while, we decided it best that it be moved to the Civic Center, which we at first thought that was a tremendous place, big, too big to have it, but it proved us wrong.
This is our 14th year to have our Jan Moore lecture on breast cancer, our Power of Pink luncheon.
Well, it's just grown by leaps and bounds, and you can tell that, you know, if you go every year, you can see how it's grown. Knowing that it moved into Livingston with our Power of Pink is just makes our Power of Pink make a difference in people's lives. And I'm just so excited for it to move on to other hospitals and other communities. And I just would love to, you know, share it even further.
When we started the Jan Moore Memorial Lecture Series, it was an educational event, and we talked about all sorts of different things related to breast cancer. But today, the focus and fight remain the same.
Life's about 10% what happens to you and 90% the way you choose to react to it.
I think now it's something people look forward to, and the survivors look forward to, and people living with the diagnosis look forward to getting together and having a lighter moment.
What time is it, ladies? It's time for the art bras.
I think the art bra competition is one of the highlights of Power of Pink, because there's men on the stage, basically.
Well, since you started dressing the men up in the bras, that always brings the house down. And to have men involved, I think, is a good thing.
I'm full of life now and moving on, cancer-free.
One of the cutest videos you ever did was that video where we did dance.
Walk out the door, just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore.
And the whole hospital staff participated in that. Oh my gosh, I just think that was one of the neatest Power of Pinks I've ever seen, because even though you make a fool of yourself, it's just kind of fun to watch people make fools of themselves. But we did, but it was fun doing it.
You all loved a woman named Jan Moore. Look what that love brought here today. Look what she went through, perhaps in order for this to happen.
I think Jan would be overwhelmed. She would be very gracious and very accepting of our thoughts and love for her.
She would be amazed. She would really be amazed.
We have reached so many women now. That's what I think keeps me going every year, that we reach more women. You know, it started out at several hundred there in the Civic Center, and now we go to Livingston and have the women down there. And when you reach 900 or over women, that's a lot.
Oh my gosh, she'd be so pleased with the amount of women that she's reached. You know, back then, we were all not educated to what all this would do back then. And she would be so pleased. So so pleased with how many lives it's touched. Gosh, I am too, because it's touched so many of my good friends and their families.
She left her mark. And anybody that ever knew her will love her forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial and the Moore family in thanking friends of Jan Moore, Barbara Polk, Mary Martha Henderson, Nancy Moore, and Tony Brown. Well, hello and welcome to the 25th Annual Power of Pink Luncheon. It is great to be part of an event that has touched so many women's lives throughout the years. My name is Yana Ogletree, and I'm the Market Director of Marketing Communications for CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial. I've had the honor and privilege of being part of Power of Pink for the last 12 years, and I must say it has been an amazing journey. From the video presentations that feature our cancer survivors, to our nationally recognized speakers, to just having all of you here, and who can forget the men modeling the art bras. It has truly been great. And also seeing the community come together to dance for a cure. It's truly been a community-wide effort. Jan Moore would be astonished at the efforts of our community to put breast cancer education at the forefront. So looking out at this sea of pink, I see many of you who have come to Power Pink time and time again, and there are a few of you who are here for the very first time. And let me tell you, it makes the work all worth it. My team, Lindsay Mott and Melissa Krager, and I love coming together with you every year to not only raise awareness about the dangers of breast cancer, the importance of early detection, mammograms, but also to have a little fun. Well, we have a great program to share with you today, so let's get started with a warm welcome to CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial Chaplain, Mr. Ed Thomas, who will deliver our invocation. Come on up, Ed.
Let us pray. Loving God, for the strength that you have given us, we thank you. For the health that you have blessed us with, we thank you. For the women who are going through breast cancer and their families, we ask that you strengthen and heal as you see fit. Dear Lord, we know that you want us to be in good health and prosper. Dear Lord, use us for the work that you have us to do, for we know that you are with us always. Dear Lord, with every woman who are sick, we encourage them as only you can. We know that you are faithful. You have shown yourself to be everything that you say you are. So bless us in this event today. We invoke your spirit here with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ed. Well, as you know, Power Pink would not be possible without the support of our generous sponsors. Thanks to their ongoing commitment, CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial offers women fighting breast cancer the financial support they need to purchase prescription medications, even overnight lodging while having treatment at the Cancer Center at the Joe W. Elliott House, even gas vouchers to help get to and from the center while they are undergoing their treatment. The support of our sponsors gives us the opportunity to provide life-saving information and motivation for women to take control of their health. Each year, we hear from women who come to this luncheon and say, because of this luncheon, they were motivated to go and get a mammogram. So if our efforts save one life, then it's definitely worth it. So please join me in thanking this year's top contributors. And please bear with me, it's a long list, and we'll give them applause at the end. Angelina Animal Hospital, Angelina Surgical Associates, Baker Hughes, a GE company, Citizens National Bank, East Texas Asphalt, Heart to Heart Hospice, Hinckley Orthodontics, Dr. Taylor McEwen, East Texas Urology Specialist, Hospice in the Pines, Abel's Gaslight Pharmacy, Alexander Langford and Hires, Consolidated Communications, Georgia Pacific, Pinecrest Retirement Community, Southland Federal Credit Union, Conifer Health Solutions, First Bank and Trust of East Texas, Swain Baldwin Insurance, Aileen's Florist, Brookshire Brothers, Quick Copy Printing, the City of Lufkin and KLTX TV, Lufkin Jewelry on the Square, Studio 319, Lufkin Coca-Cola, Beard Fine Jewelers, the Lufkin News, Belk, Whataburger, Town Square Media, and Pentagon Communications. Thank you very much. And we also have a host of other sponsors, and we have been highlighting them on our screen, and we are so thankful for your contributions to this event. And on behalf of CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial, I extend my sincere appreciation to each of you today, because you are also making a difference. By purchasing a ticket, you too are helping our cancer patients right here at home. We are honored to have some city, county, and community leaders joining us today. First, I'd like to recognize State Representative Trent Ashby. Trent, will you please stand? City Council members Josephina Bonner and Robert Schenkel. And Jim Johnson, the president of the Lufkin-Angeline County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome. And last but not least, Mayor Bob Brown. And Mayor Bob Brown has proclaimed today Power of Pink Day in the city of Lufkin. Thank you, Mayor. And so we are all so delighted and deeply humbled to have the continued support of Jan's family. For the last 25 years, the Moore family has been instrumental in making this event a success. So today, please join me in thanking Jan's family, including David and Kelly Moore, Kimberly Graham, Brian Moore and Abigail, and Alan and Kathy Moore. Thank you. And of course, Power of Pink wouldn't be possible without the support of our market president and CEO, Mr. Monty Bostwick. Now, Monty moved to Lufkin about a year ago. It was during Power of Pink time, so this is his first time to attend the luncheon. So he has no idea what he's in for. So please join me in giving Monty a big Power of Pink welcome.
Thank you, Yana. Forgive me, I don't stand and speak in the same place very well. So it's a pleasure to be here today. This is a great looking crowd. I got some advice just before coming up here that when you're addressing people, sometimes less is more. Would you agree with that? So I'll try to keep my comments fairly brief here. The first thing I wanted to do is from a personal standpoint is to say thank you. Yana mentioned that my family and I moved here to East Texas about a year ago, and if you've ever moved, you know it's not easy. And my wife, Mandy, after being married to me for about 20 years, I think after the 5th move, she thought I was part of some secret military operation that was moving us around the country. But nonetheless, she made the move with me, as well as my 3 children, Ian and Grayson and Canaan. And this move, because of the warmth and the reception that we had when we moved here, was because of this community, which you all represent. And so thank you for that. Now I'm going to transition for just a second here. I'm going to give you a little clarity and insight as to my attire today. Okay? If I could get you to peer into my closet, you would see black, white, tan, gray, hint of blue. Up until a couple weeks ago, there's one color you certainly did not see. Does anybody want to guess what that color was? Thank you. Good. It's an interactive crowd. I like that. It was pink. So a couple of weeks ago, Yana is saying, hey, Monty, just a quick reminder, you got a part to play in this. And I was like, yeah. And like an oh, by the way thing, it was, oh, by the way, you need to go get a pink shirt and or a pink tie. There was a pregnant pause. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is not in my comfort zone. But nonetheless, I'm a trooper. I'm in. I want to be supportive. I go home. I tell my bride, Mandy, I say, honey, go get me a pink tie. And Mandy's like, this is fantastic, because she doesn't get to do this, right? She doesn't get to introduce things that are outside my comfort zone into my closet. So she goes out, procures the pink tie, and then something happened. Awareness happened. My daughters came into the closet. They see the pink tie there. And it was like, Dad, what's up with the pink tie? Because they know it's out of my comfort zone as well. But it was then that I got an opportunity to talk to them about it and to tell them what it represented and what it was about and the awareness that we're trying to bring. And it hit home for them. Now, certainly a portion of that hitting home for them was because I lost my mom, their grandmother, also known as Jijo, to cancer about 6 years ago. Okay? But with that, one thing my mom always enjoyed when she was battling was a word of encouragement. I love to call her and say, Mom, I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm with you in this battle. And that's what I want this group to be today. I want this group to be an encouragement today. Can you do that? Yeah, that was weak. I'm going to give you another shot here. I'm looking for a simple 3-letter word. Starts with Y, ends with S. Can you be an encouragement today? I know you could. I know you could. So on behalf of CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial, we are extremely excited to be here. I'm excited to participate in the event. I'm excited to see who knows what come across the stage based upon the video sometime soon. And again, thank you for allowing me to be here, and have a great day. All right.
Thank you, Monty. And I think the pink tie is a nice addition, don't you? Yeah. So CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial is committed to increasing the number of survivors through earlier detection, better treatment options, and access to high-quality cancer care. Among our incredibly trained and experienced physicians, nurses, and staff leading this charge is Dr. Sid Roberts, the medical director of the Temple Cancer Center. Of course, we are fortunate to have Dr. Roberts as a member of our medical staff and cancer care team, but we are very delighted that he is here today to join us once again as our MC. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Roberts.
"25 years, my goodness. A lot has changed for me in 25 years. Monty, my comfort zone has expanded a bit. I've got the pink tie on. I've got blue suede shoes and pink socks on. I've got the pink watch on. So I want to see what you got on next year, okay? So truly, 25 years. It's been a remarkable journey from the very first luncheon that we had at Memorial Health System in their med staff meeting room. There was a group of, we were hoping for 100 women that very first time, and we sat around with little box lunches on our lap, and we listened to a breast cancer surgeon talk about lumpectomy for breast cancer as opposed to mastectomy. And many of those early lectures were actually kind of academic in a way, but they taught us, they gave us information to help fight the fight. And the video was amazing. And every one of you has a Jan Moore in your life, somebody that's inspired you to be here today, somebody that you're thinking about, maybe a mother, a sister, a daughter, a friend who has fought breast cancer, who may have lost the battle to breast cancer, or who may have survived breast cancer. If you're a breast cancer survivor and you're here today, would you stand up and let us recognize you? I know there are many out there. I've seen you. Beautiful, beautiful. If you've survived any type of cancer today, would you stand up? Because it's not all about breast cancer all the time. All cancer survivors, take a stand. Now, that may get a little old to some, recognizing survivors, but let me tell you, 25 years ago, the overall survival rate for cancer in this country was 50%. Today, 7 out of 10 survive cancer. That's a remarkable achievement. And when we talk about breast cancer in particular, the survival rate in the 25 years that we have been doing this has dropped 40%. 40%. That's worth some applause. There are many reasons for that decline, including better chemotherapy and targeted therapy for more advanced and aggressive breast cancers, and radiation treatment has gotten shorter with fewer side effects for early breast cancer than a quarter century ago. But the number one reason we are saving more lives is that you are out there getting your mammograms and catching cancer early when it's highly curable. You are the ones to be congratulated. So don't let up on that. Texas still ranks 35th in the nation in women getting mammograms, and we can do better than that. There are still nearly 250,000 cases of breast cancer expected to be diagnosed this year in the United States. That's about 100 women this year in Angelina County that are going to be diagnosed. Again, these are our friends, our mothers, our sisters, our relatives. Catch it early. Get your mammogram. CHI is committed to increasing the number of survivors through earlier detection, and we provide more than 12,000 mammograms each year in our state-of-the-art imaging centers. For the past 20 years, we've partnered with a federal grant called Breast and Cervical Cancer Services to provide low-income women in our surrounding 8 counties with free breast and cervical cancer screenings. Those women, if they are diagnosed with cancer, automatically qualify for free treatment. So again, there is no reason that any woman cannot or should not get a mammogram. In addition, as you have heard a little bit about, CHI is committed to helping our needy and indigent cancer patients to get treatment at the Temple Cancer Center with transportation, lodging, and medications, and funds that are raised today go for that very purpose. And I can't tell you how grateful those patients are. CHI also, in the last couple of years, has invested $4.3 million in equipment and technology upgrades in the Cancer Center to provide our region with state-of-the-art cancer care. So, Monty, I want to say thank you back to you and to CHI for what you guys do to further the mission treating all women, regardless of their status, regardless of their ability to pay. That's very important. Thank you. Well, I know you may think that your hands are tired of pounding together, but we got a little bit more reason for you to do that coming up. As you know, for the last 8 years, we've sponsored an art bra contest. And you probably heard the story. The tradition began when a woman who lost her mother to breast cancer came across some buttons and trinkets that her mother had collected, and her creativity turned into a great way to bring awareness and a whole lot of laughter to this event. From rhinestones and beads to feathers and novelty items, these are some of the most creative entries we have seen thus far. So here to support the cause and give a whole new meaning to the phrase, Save the Puppies, here are this year's art bra models. Give a Power Pink welcome to our first model, veterinarian Gerald Crump. Dr. Crump is reminding women to treasure their tatas and get an annual mammogram. Should I say Pirate Crump? Adorned with jeweled hearts, gold coins, and a bright pink skull, this bra was created by Total Home Health of Lufkin and Livingston. Uh-oh. And if that parrot perched on the top of his head bra could talk. Well, all I gotta say is, thank you, Gerald. Pirate Gerald. So that's me, baby. And even if they try to, they can't do it like I do. Our next model has a soft spot for animals of all kinds. Dr. Daniel Salas is modeling the adorable Protect Those Puppies bra, designed by his own team at Angelina Animal Hospital. Oh my goodness. In honor of anyone who has fought breast cancer, this bra features droopy-eared dogs sporting jeweled handbands and a furry coat. This is our honorable mention this year. If you look closely, you will see the bra straps are actually dog leashes from the animal hospital. Let's give it up for Dr. Salas. Protect those puppies. T-Rex, Brontosaurus, and the Stegosaurus are all extinct, and that's exactly what we want from breast cancer. Dr. Craig Wood with Lone Star Veterinary Clinic is our next model, wearing the third place Make Breast Cancer Extinct bra. It's adorned with these adorable green dinosaurs. Oh my, look at that. Designed by a Piney Woods Home Health. Say bye-bye to breast cancer, Dr. Wood. Tick-tock, says the clock. It's time for a cure. Dr. Brian Haffernick with Piney Woods Veterinary Clinic isn't taking any time. Getting to the stage in our second place, pink, silver, and blue bedazzled. My word, look at that outfit. Dang. That reminds us it's never too late to get your mammograms as we wait for a cure. Designed by Rebecca Dilday at Hospice in the Pines. Give it up for Dr. Brian Haffernick. Big, small, flat, or perky. Mammograms are designed for all shapes and sizes. Dr. Doug Ashburn with Southwood Drive Animal Clinic is simply percolating in our first place bra titled Still Perky after all these years. Oh, the oversized coffee makers, thank you. I'll take a little sip. Yes. Surrounded by pink feathers, tulle created by Heart to Heart Hospice. Doug, unbelievable. Thank you. Finally, this bra is Boob-alicious. Sean Penn, People's Choice Award, Southwood Drive Animal Clinic gets the honor of wearing this bra covered in double bubble gum. Oh, thank you. I'll take a piece. Yes. Designer Rebecca Dilday and Sandra Wilson, Joe Elliott House. They want you to put a quarter in the slot and take time to get your mammogram. Oh. And look at the balloons. Oh. I think that could go on forever. Thank you, Sean. Let's get all of our art bra models back out for a lineup, shall we? Come on, guys. Everybody come back out. One last, oh, let's get a good picture of these guys out here too, shall we? From droopy to extinct to TikTok to perky. I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes, don't they? Oh, and we're blowing bubbles down there too. Goodness. Thank you guys so much. Oh, my goodness. You know, we jump from the ridiculous to the serious now. Besides being good sports and excellent dancers, some of our models today are members of the Lufkin Noon Lions Club. As Lions, these men work year-round to raise funds for local community nonprofit organizations. In fact, this year, the Temple Cancer Center and many of our patients are benefiting directly from their efforts. I'd like to welcome to the stage Lufkin Noon's Lions Club President Scott West and Hall Henderson for a special presentation.
Well, first one I've been to, and I've never seen this much pink or this many women in one room looking at me for sure. So I just want to say thank you all for all coming out supporting this. It's an amazing event. It's one that that we're very proud to be a part of to help support the Temple Cancer Center and reach out to families that need financial help to somewhat lessen the burden a little bit while they're trying to focus on their family. And we're very grateful we're here to help and that y'all give us the opportunity by supporting us, whether that be at the train or the rodeo. And so thank y'all for that and continue the fight. I'll stand on the other side.
I tell you, I was very humbled to hear of that presentation and truly can't tell you how much our patients do thank you for this. I get the pleasure of introducing our speaker now, Teresa Rhine, #1 New York Times and international best-selling author, attorney, and if you haven't noticed a theme yet today, dog lover. Teresa Rhine was a natural-born pessimist, but one unruly dog and 2 cancer battles later, she's sharing her story of love, hope, healing, and even optimism with crowds across the United States. When Seamus, the beagle, entered Teresa's life, she never imagined the journey they would undergo together as they both beat the odds of cancer. So please join me as Power of Pink goes to the dogs in welcoming our featured guest and author of the book, The Dog Lived, and So Will I, Teresa Rhine.
Thank you all very much. I am very happy to be here with you today. And when a cancer survivor tells you she's happy to be here, she means it in every sense of the word. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to share my story with you today. Thank you. And my story is not one that starts with cancer. And you look like a really sharp group, so you can probably figure out it didn't end with cancer. It started with something much happier than that. It starts with a divorce. I was 41 years old, and I found myself going through a divorce and feeling a little down on myself, feeling a little old. And I took my old self and my 2 old dogs, and I moved into an old townhome that I rented from one of my law partners at the time. And I set out to live what I perhaps too affectionately deemed my alphabet life. See, I decided I was good at a lot of things, but maybe relationships was not one of them. I decided all I needed in my life was books, coffee, and dogs. B, C, D. and I'd be fine. Then a college friend of mine pointed out that I wasn't going to get very far without wine. Probably some margaritas. Definitely a martini now and then, which is fine. That gave me my A for adult beverages. So I set out to live my alphabet life that was going to consist solely of adult beverages, books, coffee, and dogs. That was all I needed. That was in March of that particular year, and in April, one of my old dogs passed away, and by August, the second one passed away as well. I wasn't even 5 months into my alphabet life, and I was already missing a letter. So I did what any adult would do, and I ran away from home. I ran to Ireland. I joined my brother and a cousin who had pre-planned this trip to Ireland to meet up with some of our relatives for the first time. Because you can tell from looking at me that I'm Irish, right? Once I got there, I learned a lot about the Viking history in Ireland, so I now know that I am Irish by way of pillage and plunder. I am clearly Viking Irish. And Ireland may seem like a strange place, a strange country to choose to go to lick your wounds from a divorce, being that it's such a staunchly Catholic country. But you know, those Irish are very funny people. And one cousin there in particular, who was, of course, named Seamus, was particularly funny and kept me laughing for the entire 2 weeks that we were there. So when I came back refreshed and relaxed and ready to start over again. I was still thinking maybe I'd leave off one letter in my alphabet life, but I was ready to move ahead. Really, what choice did I have? I was back in my law office for perhaps 3 days, settling back in, when my secretary buzzed me on the intercom and put through the call that was going to change my life. This was not the call telling me I had cancer. That was still a few years off. This was a call about a dog. The secretary buzzed through and said, "It's Destiny from the Pet Adoption Center. Do you want to take the call?" How can I not answer when Destiny calls? So I took the call, and Destiny said, "I know you just got back from vacation, but I wanted to let you know we have a beagle in. Not sure if you're ready for another dog, but I took him from the animal shelter just before he was set to be euthanized, and I took him with you in mind. Are you ready for another dog?" Am I ready for another dog? Big question. My love of beagles was very well known, as I'd rescued many of them from this pet adoption center, and I often sung the praises of beagles to anyone who would listen to me. To me, a beagle is a perfect dog. A beagle is a great dog for men. They're short and compact and kind of sporty looking, so men are okay with them. They're small enough and cute enough that women really love them too. And they have very even temperaments and are super playful, so they're great with kids as well. But maybe I'd found the limit for a beagle. Maybe a beagle wasn't a good dog for a single woman working a lot of long hours. Beagles are pack dogs. Beagles are very active dogs. They're very high energy dogs. Beagles are not dogs for a townhome. So maybe I'd found the limit for a beagle. Beagles maybe were a dog for my past life, not this new life that I was vaguely forming. But oh, how I love beagles. My heart may have hardened in a lot of places, but it was still a very soft spot for dogs. And after all, they'd rescued this dog with me in mind, so it would only be polite to go and look, right? Yeah, caution, meet wind. I went down to the pet adoption center just to take a look, and Destiny walked me to the kennel where the beagle was. But I heard this beagle's howl long before I got to the kennel. Beagle howls are distinctive in a blood-curdling sort of way, but to me they're a call to home. I approached the kennel. Destiny opened the gate, leashed the dog, and brought him out to me, and he immediately jumped up with both paws up on my knees, stretched his head up into my face, and immediately away. This dog had a very interesting howl. This was not a normal beagle howl. He sounded like he had been suckling whiskey from his mother's teeth and chain-smoking since birth. I tried to calm him and pet him and get him to sit, and I got to take a look at him. And it wasn't just his howl that was unusual. Where most beagles are the tricolor, black, brown, and white, this dog was mostly red. And where another dog might have been white or even the black, this dog was very mottled, kind of almost a gray mottled look to him. And then he had these black nails that looked to be painted that way by some goth teenager. And he had coal-lined eyes, very dark black around his eyes. It looked like coal eyeliner that any emo rock band member would have envied. I sat and I petted him, and he pushed into my legs, he pushed into my hands, he rubbed up against me. Mostly he was pushing into my heart. And he sat and looked up at me, and I noticed one more interesting characteristic about this dog. As you saw in the raw art, hounds usually have those floppy ears going forward. But this dog had one ear that would just flop back. And then I would push it back down, making him a proper droopy-eared beagle, and it would flop right back over again. And I'd push it back down, and it would flop back up. And this dog sat at my feet, looked up at me with those coal-lined caramel eyes, the ear flopped back over. He looked up adoringly. He was so cute, and he liked me. And we both knew in that moment he was going home with me. I just had to hope that he's cute and he's going home with me. Worked out better with dogs than it had with men. So to no one's surprise at all, I adopted the dog. And I named him Seamus after my cousin in Ireland. What with that red coat and that whiskey howl, he needed an Irish name, and Seamus was very fitting. So no surprise, I adopted the dog and I took him home. Much bigger surprise, around that same time I also began dating again. Began dating a man 12 years younger than me. Yeah, come on, that deserves applause. Ladies. And I was 41, so I'll let you do that math. So I had about a good solid year where things were going great. After a little introductory period, the dog and the man got along, the dog and I got along great, and much to my surprise, the man and I got along great as well. So we had one really good year. And then one morning, my mobile groomer walked up to the front door. She brought me the dog, and she said, "I need to show you something." And we both bent down, and she turned the dog around, and she showed me this little bump on his rear end. Now, I pet my dog in a lot of places, but that's not one of them. So I hadn't noticed it. And I said, "Yeah, it looks like a bug bite." And she said, "Yeah, but it was there the last time I groomed him." That means that bump had been there for 6 to 8 weeks. So I immediately took Seamus into his veterinarian, and within a week the biopsy came back, and I learned that Seamus had cancer. Seamus was 2, maybe 3 years old at that point in time, and they told me that with surgery and chemotherapy, he would live maybe a year. I was really mad. I was really upset by this. I didn't have a lot of experience with cancer at that point in time. No one in my family had had it. I didn't have any close friends who had had it. And I really wasn't aware that dogs could get cancer. That was new to me as well. But I decided I was going to fight it. This dog was too young. I was too tired of starting my life over again. And I was too tired of going through things like this. He deserved to live, and I deserved to have him live. So we decided to fight it. The first thing I had to do was do a lot of research to find the appropriate place for his care. But I did. And a year later, Seamus was alive and well. And 2 years later, Seamus was alive and well. And 3 years later, Seamus was alive and well. And one morning, I was in the shower, and I was shaving, and my hand brushed up against the right side of my breast. And I felt something that I would call a thickening. It wasn't a lump, but it wasn't right. It wasn't normal. So I got out of the shower, and I went over to Chris, the boyfriend who's 10 years younger than me, and I asked for a second opinion. And God bless you men, you are always willing to give a second opinion on breasts. So Chris felt it, and he said, "Yeah, I feel it too, but it's not a lump." And I said, "Yeah, it's not a lump." And I had just had a clean mammogram 5 months before. So we decided we would just keep an eye on it. Chris was much more excited about that than I was. But sure enough, about a month later, it was definitely a lump. And I went to my doctor, had a mammogram, and on December 23rd at 3:30 in the afternoon, I received a call from my primary care physician telling me my mammogram was highly suspicious of malignancy. I needed to get in and see a surgeon right away. Don't even bother with a biopsy. Immediately have it removed. Good luck. Here's the number. Goodbye. Click. That was it. Now, I don't know about here in Lufkin, Texas, but where I was in California, you cannot reach a surgeon on December 23rd at 3:30 in the afternoon, or December 24th, or December 25th. Not even a Jewish one. So I had a very difficult time getting in to get an appointment, and I couldn't get an appointment locally for something like a month away, which seemed like a really long time to leave highly suspicious of malignancy hanging out in my breast, let alone my mind. And that is when Chris, the boyfriend who's 8 years younger than me, reminded me that I needed to do for myself what I had done for Seamus, which was I needed to dig in and do a lot of research and figure out where the best place for me to go was to get the best care. So I did. And I wound up at UCLA Medical Center. And I wound up with a fantastic young surgeon. And on January 12th, I was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. Triple-negative breast cancer is a particularly aggressive breast cancer. Not that there's a good one to have. This is a bad one to have. And my prognosis was not horrible, but not great. But I handled it, I think, so much better because I had already been through this with Seamus, and I already understood the language of cancer. I understood what prognosis meant. I understood what the odds meant, and that somebody always beats them. So the next day after my diagnosis, as Chris and I were driving into UCLA for my MRI, a very important thing happened. I'm probably like a lot of you, if you're animal lovers, you can't watch a movie, watch TV, heck, I can't watch a commercial or even a cartoon if there's a dog in it and I think the dog is going to get hurt or die. I just can't watch it. Chris still teases me to this day about the one time he thought it would be very cute and he was doing a wonderful thing for me that he got the movie Underdog, which is a cartoon and stars a beagle. And he started the movie, but the beginning of the movie is Underdog, the beagle cartoon, in a laboratory where they're about to do some diabolical experiments on him. So I immediately said, no, you stop the movie, nope, we can't watch this. And he looked at me and said, it's a Disney cartoon, nothing's going to happen. To which I said, tell that to Bambi's mother. And we did not watch that movie. I still don't know what happens to Underdog, but I assume he does turn out great. No spoiler alerts here. So, driving to UCLA that day to get my MRI, I turned to Chris and I said, you know, it would be the great irony of my life if the dog lived, but I did not. And Chris turned to me and said, the dog lived, and you will too. He could do that because we were on an LA freeway. It's not like we were moving or anything. So. But I really liked what he said. The dog lived, and so will I. And that became my mantra as I was going through treatment. In fact, it eventually became the title of the book. But that's why. It was my mantra, and it was one I needed, and it was one that kept me going. And sure enough, as I went through treatment, and I had a lumpectomy, I had 4 rounds of 2 different types of chemotherapy, and I had 36 rounds of radiation. So I had a lot of treatment. And that continued to be my mantra. And as I was going through it, I realized that Seamus really had shown me the way, and all I needed to do was follow his lead as I went through this. There were many similarities between Seamus's treatment and Seamus's experience and mine, starting with what I already told you about, that I had to dig in and do some research to find the best place for care for both of us. We also both were very lucky to find very young, energetic, wonderful doctors that were the primary lead for our care. Seamus's doctor, I think she told us he was like her 3rd official patient when she had finished, you know, internship, residency, everything they have to go through. And my surgeon, he told me 5th, and then later he confessed 1st patient that he had at UCLA Medical Center, which was part of the reason I could get in to see him so quickly. But he was fabulous, so I don't care at all. He was wonderful. Also, I had to fire a physician that was treating Seamus just because her bedside manner made things so much more difficult, and it was making it so much harder for us to go through what we were going through that I asked to be changed to another doctor. When the same thing happened to me, I asked to be changed to another doctor. And I don't think I would have done that. I don't even think I would have known that was an okay thing to do if I hadn't done it for Seamus. Seamus and I also both had life-threatening white blood cell crashes, and we both also had one of the same chemotherapies, Cytoxin for you chemo-knowledgeable out there. And yes, they give the same chemo to dogs as they give to humans, just in lower dosages, lots lower dosages. So this mantra of the dog lived and so will I was extremely helpful to me, and having gone through it with Seamus was the best thing for me. Not so much for Seamus, but it really worked out well for me. Until I got to one point where Seamus could no longer help me. And that point was when I was going to lose my hair, and I had to go buy a wig. Seamus did not lose his hair. Dogs don't lose their hair because they have fur, not hair, and also because they're given a much lower dosage. So Seamus didn't lose his hair, and even if he had, I'm pretty sure he would not have worn a wig. So he did not have to deal with that. So when I came to that point, I kind of stumbled. I couldn't really figure out what to do because I had so easily been just following this dog's lead, and now I was just lost. And it seemed like a relatively simple thing to do, but for some reason, and I think the reason was I no longer had my little beagle guru, I just stumbled. And then somebody told me about this place that would do free wig fittings, and if you were a cancer patient, you could go and get free wigs. So before I tell you the story, let me do a disclaimer. I am not talking about the American Cancer Society's Look Good, Feel Good program, which is a wonderful program that I found later. This was a small nonprofit that doesn't do this anymore, for reasons which are about to become very clear. So, Chris, the boyfriend that's 6 years younger than me, he and I went on down to this place we had been told about, and I had made an appointment. And we walked in, and behind the reception counter, there was this young, to me, teenage-looking girl. We'll just call her Wig Teen. And I thought, this is the cosmetologist I'd been told would help me find the perfect wig. But I'd made an appointment, so we went ahead, and I said, hi, I'm here for my wig fitting appointment. And she said, today? And I said, yes, I made an appointment. And she said, but you still have hair. This is in California, they talk like that. And I said, well, yeah, my chemo doesn't start for another week, so I still have my hair. And she said, okay, but now I don't know how to fit you. I started to get a little worried she was going to shave my head right then and there to make her job easier. But she didn't. She rallied. She took us back to what she adorably called a wig room, and we would more appropriately call a wig closet. She sat me down in a chair, and she stretched over my head what looked like a knee-high nylon and tucked all my hair up under it. This was going to make her job easier. Then she took down a bin of what looked like roadkill, and she assured me were wigs, and she opened the top, and she pulled out a few that were wigs in styles that haven't been seen since the Golden Girls were on. And she looked at me and she said, do you want to be blonde? I mean, stay blonde? And I said, yes, sure. I had been told that you want to get a wig that matches your hair so it's less uncomfortable for you. So I said, sure, yeah, let's stay blonde. She reached in and pulled out a squirrel pelt and said, this one? And I said, no, that's brown. She reached in and pulled out a beaver hat. This one? I said, no, those are brown. And she turned the bin around, and there was a label on the side made of masking tape, and it said, blonde. And clearly she was not capable of arguing with masking tape. So she looked at me and said, no, these are blonde. So I decided to pick my battles and let go on the brown and blonde, and I said, how about long? Do you have any that are long? And she said, no. These are all we have. This would have been terrific information to know before we drove all that way, before I had messed up my hair and stuck a knee-high nylon on, and before I strangled her. But I decided we were there. We might as well go ahead with it. And she stuck a hoary marmot on my head. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and suddenly I was B. Arthur. Only older and a lot crazier. And I began to chant, no, 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 no. And Chris began to sing, thank you for being a friend. So we removed the small roadkill animal, thanked her for her time, and said, no, thank you. These weren't going to work. And so we left. But as we were leaving, Wig Teen says to me, you might want to go next door and see about the turbines. Okay. What the heck, we were there. So we walked next door, and inexplicably, the turbine room is twice the size of the wig closet. But they only have 3 turbines. Not 3 styles, 3 turbines. 1 white, 1 pink, 1 red, all in size medium large. Now, if I were a child, I would have had a vast selection, vast being 6. How many children are looking for turbines? So we thanked her. We said, okay, I don't think this is for me. Thanks a lot. And we got right outside the door, and just as we got outside the door, Chris burst out laughing because the little tiny store had 2 shoplifters will be prosecuted signs. We still wonder to this day how many renegade shoplifters desperate for pink turbans had come in there before they put up the signs, which would, of course, scare the hair off anybody. So I failed miserably at my first attempt to do something without Seamus's lead. Eventually, I did find an appropriate wig, and I decided to go with red. I figured, why not? I wasn't hiding what I was going through. In fact, I had been blogging about it, so I might as well have some fun with it. And I bought a lovely red wig that I could wear to work and when I was seeing clients. And then Chris, you know, who's 5 years younger than me, Chris and I went online, had a little fun ordering just some different cheap wigs. And then he had way too much fun naming those and pretending he had different girlfriends. So the long jet black one became Natasha. And then I had one that was very long, wavy, sexy blonde hair, but it was like one of those halo ones, so I still had to wear a newsboy cap over it. So he called that one Brittany, B word. And then we had one that didn't kind of look like we thought it was going to look. It was a lot more 50s housewife than we were expecting, so he named that one Donna. And now that I think about it, he was really inappropriate about having all these different girlfriends. But I was in chemo, I was too tired to notice. But then, of course, I did get to the low point in my treatment. Seamus had helped me through everything, and I got to the worst night in my entire experience of cancer, and it was Seamus, and a little bit Chris too, maybe a lot Chris, who pulled me through. So what happened was, I told you I had the white blood cell crash. And so what they did after, that was after the first chemotherapy. So after the second chemotherapy, they gave me a shot to keep the white blood cell count up. And the side effects of this shot are moderate to severe bone pain in the large bones in your body, which confirmed for me something I had always been suspicious of, which is that I am a large bone girl. Because every bone in my body hurts. The other thing that happened to me after the second chemotherapy was I learned that I was allergic to one of the chemotherapies. That's right, this body, allergic to poison. Makes sense. But the way the allergy manifested itself was I broke out in a rash pretty much from head to toe. So one evening, middle of the night, I was in bed. I had severe insomnia. I had very bad indigestion. My bones ached like crazy. I had night sweats which had aggravated the rash, so I was scratching at myself and causing myself to bleed all over. And just to top it off, I, of course, had a little bit of nausea as well. So I got out of bed, and I went to the bathroom, and I decided I was going to take a lukewarm bath. You can't take a hot bath when you're in chemotherapy, so I decided I'd take a lukewarm bath, put some oatmeal in it to help maybe at least soothe my skin and get some sort of relief. It didn't work. And I got out of the bathtub, and when I got out of the bathtub, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. My completely unrecognizable self. I was bent over from the bone pain. I was bloated from the steroids. I was, of course, completely bald. No hair, no eyebrows, no nose hair. My face was swollen. My eyes were barely open. And I had these red welts all over my body and the scratch marks where I had sliced into my own skin. And of course, I had the red slash across my right breast where the lumpectomy had been done, and another one under my arm where the lymph nodes had been removed. And I caught a glimpse of myself, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I thought, how does anybody survive this? I can't do this. I'm never going to get back to normal. How does anybody get through this? And just as I was ready to drop down onto the bathroom floor, curl up into the fetal position, and give the ugly cry last seen on Lifetime television for women, I heard a noise. Right outside the bathroom door. And though Chris, the boyfriend who's 4 years younger than me, had been with me every step of the way, he had gone to all of my appointments with me, he had sat through the chemo infusions with me, he'd been with me the entire time, I somehow had deluded myself into thinking he hadn't yet seen what I looked like. And I didn't want him to see me like that. So I quickly grabbed my robe and flung open the bathroom door and went to go quiet Seamus. But Seamus ran from me, ran down the hall, turned around, howled at me again, then took some steps towards me, howled, turned around, ran back over, howled again. So I know I need to follow him, because Timmy's fallen down the well. Shout out to Lassie. So as quickly as I could, careful down the stairs with the neuropathy in my feet, I followed the dog. I followed him down the stairs, I followed him down the hall, and I followed him into the kitchen. And there was Chris, standing in the kitchen, baking cookies. He had picked out a movie, and he was baking us cookies, and he was prepared to stay up with me all night to see me through this. And it was in that moment that I remembered the most important lesson that Seamus had taught me. Now, I would like to tell you that Seamus is the kind of dog who knew I was in my darkest moment and came up to rescue me, but he's a beagle. He came up to get me to go downstairs and rescue some cookies for him. And that was okay, because that's what triggered the big lesson. See, when we took Seamus to all of his treatments, and he had a lot of treatment, he was going weekly for chemo, and then every other week, and then twice a month, and then once a month, and then quarterly, and then twice a year, and then annually, and he was going for a long time. In fact, there was a day when poor Chris had to take both Seamus and me to our oncology appointments, to our follow-ups, which he did with great humor. Anyway, we took Seamus a lot, and we noticed that every time he walked into the oncology center, he walked in with his tail held high and wagging away and just happy as could be, like he was greeting all his fans there. And by then he was. He'd been in so often, and he was such a happy, crazy dog that they were all fans of his. But those of you who have animals, you know that's a little unusual. They don't usually go marching into the veterinarian's office happy to be there. They're usually trying to hide, they're getting under the chairs, they're avoiding the car, whatever it is. But no matter what they did, he was happy to go to the veterinary oncology office. But finally we realized, about halfway through, why that was. And it was because every single person who dealt with Seamus, from the receptionist who welcomed us, to the person who weighed him in, if they did a blood draw, did a chemo infusion, just did a regular checkup, even when they took his temperature, they always gave him a cookie afterwards. And because it was Seamus and he had sort of the Irish theme going on, it was usually a green milk bone cookie. They always gave him a cookie after every single treatment. And we realized that to Seamus, this was not the oncology center. This was a cookie store. And the cookies were free. Seamus was focused entirely on the cookies. And that night, watching Chris pull the tray of freshly baked cookies out, I realized it was time again for me to follow Seamus's lead. It was time for me to focus on the cookies. Not just the cookies that he was now carefully placing on a tray and cooling so we could watch the movie, but the genuine cookies in my life. Cancer has a way of focusing us on all that we've lost. Our hair, our energy, our health, maybe some family and friends. And I realized that what I needed to do to get through this was focus on what I had. I had this wonderful relationship, this wonderful man who stood by my side every step of the way. I had this rascally, hilarious dog who had shown me the way through at the time I needed it most and arrived in my life at the perfect time. I had great doctors, and I had family and friends who had helped me through. It was definitely time for me to focus on the cookies. And that's the message that I would like to leave with all of you today. We did share the cookies with Seamus, of course. And I would like to share with you that if you ever find yourself going through a dark time, going through a difficult time, a time when you think you just can't do this, you just can't make it, I hope that you too can follow Seamus's lead and focus on the cookies in your life. Now, I will tell you, sometimes you really have to get in that cookie jar and dig around before you find those cookies, but they're there. And as a woman who found her best love in middle age, I also need to warn you, just make sure your hand is in the right cookie jar. Thank you very much for having me today, and happy anniversary to all of you.